But thank you for the effort to come down and actually learn how to develop social enterprises. I'm just going to share with you some of the couple of stuff that I've learned. So last summer I had the opportunity to work with McKinsey & Consultancy, the world's #1 management consultancy firm, where I got to develop my own social enterprise working in the agricultural sector. So a couple of the stuff that I learned is really valuable, and I think that as you guys as teams are working for your own ideas, it's going to really help you, the toolkits that I'm going to show you, it's going to really help you to validate and identify your ideas to find better solutions. So let's test out how smart you guys are. How would you eat an elephant? Just think about it for a moment. I know it's crazy. Well, the real problem is the human being is like this, like myself, right? And the elephant is friggin' huge, right? Now, if it's halal to eat an elephant or not, that's an entirely different debate, right? Any olives in the house here tonight? Alright, cool. But don't worry, I'm not gonna tell you to eat an elephant, like literally, right? So the real answer is one bite at a time. If you have a big problem and you break it down each time, it gets easier for you to actually realistically consume that problem. For example, here you have the chuck, the ribs, the short loin, you break it down, everything. They can actually see what kind of stuff that you need to do, and eventually accumulating all those small stuff, you eventually achieve something big. So the elephant for you guys for the next 4 weeks is going to be the Hult Prize itself. A lot of ideas, world-changing ideas, problems that concern you and stuff. Where to begin, where to end, you have no friggin' clue right now. I'll show you how to break down your ideas and actually create impact by actually understanding how these ideas can work. So one of the toolkits we use is the SMART toolkit, first and foremost. If you see, what are the characteristics of a good problem statement? Now, you may have ideas and solutions, but what does idea and solution, before you go to your solution, you need to identify your problem first. So you use the SMART toolkit. S stands for specific. Your problem statement should be very specific. It should concern, and you should know what you're actually doing. Your idea should also be, your problem statement should also be measurable. What are the metrics of measurement? How would you know that you've achieved impact? How would you measure your impact and problem statement and your solution? A stands for action-oriented. How would you know what action are you going to take throughout the thing? What are the methodologies you're going to follow? Realistically, pragmatically on the ground, what are you going to use? Is your idea relevant to the key problem? Many of the times we come up with ideas. For example, this year's topic is urban slums, right? So if you go to urban slums, there are a lot of stuff there. For example, sanitation problems, drainage problems, early childhood education, all right? Lack of education for the adults themselves. So you can't really tackle everything together. So make sure that you know you're tackling the relevant problem itself, all right? Or else you just punch in the dark. Also, your idea should be T, which is time-bound. What are the timelines that I can have to achieve my idea? Is it 1 month, 1 year? Make a plan. Make a plan. How is your idea going to look like in 10 years, for example, in 20 years? What is the thing? The thing, how effective SMART is that it tackles the key business problem. Imagine like giving your efforts, your resources, your time to solving a problem, and then to find out that you've solved the wrong problem itself. So if you break it down to the SMART technique, it actually helps you identify and contextualize what problem you're solving, and it aligns you to the specific position that you want to go towards. So it's really important to define the problem. And one of my favorite quotes from Peter Drucker, who is the father of management consultancy from the 20th century, the biggest tragedy is not getting the wrong answer. You can be wrong. You have to be wrong if you want to be good. But answering the wrong question, make sure you're hitting the right areas. Make sure you answer the right questions, ask the right questions, or else you'll be this, again, deviating from your specific position and impact that you want to achieve. Alright, most new ventures, they start with assumptions. And the idea for any entrepreneur is convert those assumptions into facts. For example, the Republicans would say that Barack Obama is Muslim because he has Hussein in his name, right? But actually it's not true, right? So these are the kind of stuff that entrepreneurs, this is an example, but entrepreneurs convert ideas and assumptions into facts. For example, let me give you an example of 2011 halt that happened. So the project idea or the problem statement was early childhood education. Now we know that a kid growing up from the slum will have less of a vocabulary or less education than a kid growing in these cities, all right? But this is just an assumption. What are the facts, all right? So the teams had to go on the ground, all right? And they figured out what was exactly the difference. They found out that a 4-year-old who grew up in a slum compared to a 4-year-old who grew up in a city had a vocabulary gap, word gap of 2,000 words. That is huge. So all of these assumptions, you know, like a lot of assumptions left, right, and center, right? But the job of an entrepreneur is research, research, research. Iterate, iterate, iterate. Do it again, until you come and say that this is a fact for sure, right? It's unshakable. So as an entrepreneur, not only the facts matter, but how you portray the facts, how you get people in, make people visualize and believe in your dream is all that matters. And last but not least, make the vision achievable, right? Don't have a vision that's like, okay, I'm gonna solve poverty by 2030. That's like really vague, right? So unachievable targets will drain motivation from your team. So you make sure you not only show the people that what your dream is, visualize it, but also on how to exactly achieve that kind of dream. That is really important. Let's get down and dirty into how your team is going to look like. This is one of the toolkits we use at McKinsey. It's called the Team Organization Template Toolkit. What basically happens is, this is so that your team is not one spear. Your team is working simultaneously on different fronts. So eventually you guys are going to have to choose a leader, all right? And these are 3 work streams that you're going to allocate so that simultaneously job goes on, all right? And you're not dependent on any one person. You can base this on the strength of the person or the interest. You can figure it out yourself. All right. The other toolkit is called the Problem Definition Worksheet Toolkit. So problem definition, how can the health and related well-being of students at my university be improved? Basically, people are getting fat, right? They're getting obese. So how do I tackle? This is my problem. So what is the context of the problem? There's little awareness in keeping fit. Many students gain like 10 kgs during the university and a lot of stuff. What are the key stakeholders involved? The key stakeholders is such an important thing. Who are the stakeholders involved if I want to make change, you know, for my specific problem? The head of the sports center, all right, head of F&B, I don't know what that is, and the students themselves, all right, the biggest of all stakeholders. What are the key forces acting on the decision makers? You know, I'm talking about the stakeholders. What are the key driving forces? What influences them? If you can find these influences, you can alter it, tap it, and eventually get to your specific goal. All right. There's also the criteria and measurement of success. How do you measure your success? How do you know that you've achieved or you're on the point of achieving your goal? Having healthy food options available, large participation at sports events. This is just an example. What are the time frame? As I said, it's really important to have a time frame on when you're going to achieve this stuff, as well as the boundaries and limits of your idea. For example, here, it's just the university itself. And you can actually work on the whole thing and see your idea like clearly defined. All right, the other toolkit is the prioritization toolkit. As I said, how would you eat an elephant? You don't just bite on that entire elephant, all right? There'll be a lot of stuff like for urban slums and everything, a lot of problems like sanitation, early childhood education, goods and services which are not okay. You can't really tackle everything. So you have to let some issues go away, right? And focus on really specific issues which is going to have the highest impact. So this is a toolkit. It's called the Prioritization Matrix Toolkit. The y-axis represents the ease of implementation, It's like how easy it is to implement my idea. This is high, this is low, and this is how much impact is my idea going to create. So just another very rough example, coming back to the same thing, that list of initiatives to reduce personal energy consumption, to reduce obesity. So if I choose number 1, for example, add healthy items to the menu. In our Mahalla canteens, how hard is it to add healthy items to the menu? It's really hard, right? Because you're going to have to open up a new shop yourself, or you just can't tell the pachiks to get some stuff. You can't really. So for me personally, I would put this on the high impact, but also on the high ease of implementation low, all right? So create a running path near domes. I think to create a running path, you need a lot of effort, right? So I would also place it something on high impact, but low ease for implementation. Provide bicycles, sheds. This is just a very rough example that you can use and everything. So as inspiration, we've developed a model called the Agri-Travels model throughout 3 months of McKinsey thing. So I'm just going to show you a video of how the Agri-Travels model works. Just before I play the video, I want you guys to realize and point out 3 things, all right? Just keep it at the back of your head, and as you're watching the video, try to find those stuff. Number 1 is, who are the stakeholders involved in this model? Right? Who am I affecting in this model? Number 2, what are the value propositions? This model, what kind of extra stuff is it bringing on the table than any other model? And number 3 is the money inflow. How does money flow? So number 1 is the stakeholder, number 2 is the value proposition it brings, and number 3 is the money. Just keep in mind these 3 stuff and watch the video.
Meet Ahmed. Ahmed is a family man who invests a lot of his time and money in traveling. He also loves to bring his family to big cities across the world. One day, while having dinner, his daughter asked him, "Papa, where does our food come from?" And he tried his best to explain it to her, but she still wanted to know more. Ahmed then went on a quest to search for fun and interactive ways to teach his daughter about nature and also the origins of the food we eat. And that's when he found agritourism. But the problem is, he's still researching on the best place that offers the best package to make his trip worthwhile. Uncle Lee, on the other hand, is a passionate farmer. He decided to open his farm to the public and created lovely, affordable packages so he will be able to generate extra income to sustain his farm. But the only problem he has is to reach out to the public, since not many people are aware about agritourism, and at the same time wants to find effective and cost-free avenues to market his farm. This is where Agri-Travels comes in. Agri-Travels aims to be the platform that centralizes all the information about farm packages to agri-tourists and allows the agri-tourists to book their travels straight from our website. So we can effectively link Ahmed, who is an agri-tourist, to Uncle Lee, who is a farmer from the rural areas, so Ahmed can help Uncle Lee generate extra income to sustain his farm and at the same time experience agritourism at the best rate he can find. So in the end, Ahmed, his daughter, and Uncle Lee will all be happy. But wait a minute, Agri-Travels aims to be more than just that. As a social enterprise, it aims to bridge the socio-economic gap between the rich and the poor in the agritourism sector and encourage green and eco-traveling mindsets so as to foster environmental sustainability and to build healthier lifestyles in the society. So what are you waiting for? Book your agri-tours with Agri-Travels Malaysia now and learn more about agri-tourism while helping us help farmers like Uncle Lee to better his standard of living.
Alright, cool. Hope you guys have some inspiration and actually develop an idea at the back of your head of how you're going to design your own social enterprises for this year's Health Prize 2015. So last but not least, I began with an elephant metaphor and I'm going to finish with an elephant metaphor. So here what happens is you should have perspective on what you're doing. That's why as entrepreneurs, you have to converge on an idea and diverge again. You have to diverge so that you can see around the stuff that's going on and take inspiration from people. But then again, you have to converge because you got to prioritize. You can't really just go around helping everyone and everybody. So you have to have specific actions that create impact. So see here, this guy is saying that, oh, it's a spear, it's a fan, it's a wall, all right? Because different people, they're not diverging enough to actually see the entire thing that's happening, the entire picture that's happening. Thank you so much.